Hey everyone, this is Jay. I promised on Twitter I was going to make a baking video. I've been wanting to make baking videos for a while and I just keep procrastinating. So I'm forcing myself to make one finally. I'm looking forward to this. I'm happy to see what happens. I'm going to go through the process of making one of my favorite things. It is a pizza dough, but it's not just any kind of pizza dough. It is a honey beer pizza dough. We're going to go through the whole steps on how I create the dough, how we get it to rise, how we knead the dough, and after it sets for a while, I'm going to show how we're going to form the dough, and then we're even going to bake pizza. The reason I chose honey beer pizza dough is because it's something that I've been wanting to do. It's also something that brings back a nice memory. For me and my wife, Crystal, we went and visited the Angel Island. Yeah, we visited Angel Island, and we took the ferry from Tiburon into the island, and we had a wonderful day. We just hiked for about 12 miles, saw everything that we wanted to see. It was so awesome. By the time we were coming back, we were super tired, we were super hungry, so we stopped at the local pizza shop there, which is called Waypoint Pizza, uh, and they had a honey beer pizza dough. And we had it, and we thought it was out of this world. So that's one of the things I wanted to recreate. I have my ingredients in front of me here. I have all-purpose flour. I have bread flour. The difference between the two is because bread flour gives more of a chew than all-purpose flour does. So now we're going to once we mix it and we bake it, it'll be crispy as well as chewy. I have salt. I have honey. I have some olive oil. I have some sourdough starter. I didn't even mention we're not even going to use yeast. This is going to be a naturally leavened pizza dough from a sourdough starter that I have made, and I have beer. Looks like we have everything here, so we can get started mixing the dough. Here I got my all-purpose flour. This is 375 grams. Put that in the bowl. Then I got my bread flour, another 375 grams. So for a total of 750 grams of flour. I have my salt here, which is, checking my cheat sheets here, 22 grams of salt. Goes right there into the bowl with the flour. Since we have our dried ingredients in this bowl, we're going to go ahead and mix it up right here so that the all-purpose flour, the bread flour, the salt, all becomes one thing. I'm going to get my beer and put it on my scale. And when I bake, I like to use a scale. I like to weigh all of my ingredients in grams. That way it gives me a more consistent uh, type of dough so that I know what I'm always working with all the time. Now that I have my beer here, I'm going to weigh my starter. First, let's take a look at the starter. I have sourdough starter, and I mix that with flour and water. And it's kind of a 1 to 1 to 1 ratio. That way my sourdough starter can get alive and eat and start burping out all this awesome carbon dioxide. Is it carbon dioxide? It creates carbonation, which we get all these big bubbles. So it's really going to help with the dough rising, and it's going to give us some big bubbles when we make our crust. So I'm going to add, and you should know that my starter is really good by when I drop this into the liquid, it should float. So we're dropping into the liquid here. Does it float? I hope so. Oh yeah, we got floaters. We got floaters. Nice, love it. So we're almost at 110. That sink. All right, so we got our starter and our beer. And we're going to go ahead and throw in our olive oil. And then going to put in our honey. Go ahead and just use a spatula there. Okay, and once all the honey is in, we will mix it up. We want to be able to get the starter to mix in with the beer pretty well. And while we're mixing, noticing that this honey is sticking just a little bit, which I should have warmed it up before I started, but that's okay. Still going to taste delicious. Alright, so now once all that is mixed up, I make a mess. Look at that. Bring my flour over here. I'm going to make a nice little well. Then all my wet stuff is going to go into the middle. Don't forget that honey. And this is the fun part. Now we're going to mix. I'm not going to use a spoon. I'm not going to use a spatula. I'm not going to use this whisk. I'm just going to use my hand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend that my hand is a mixer. So I'm just going to kind of make a hook with my fingers. And then I'm just going to slowly move it in a clockwise motion. And then counterclockwise, switch it up. And all we're trying to do is get all the flour wet. Trying to make sure that everything gets mixed together. And we're not going to try to go crazy here. So if anyone ever asks me what my favorite food is, it's definitely pizza. I love making pizza. I love eating pizza. I love cooking pizza. I love all the different toppings. Even pineapple. I love pineapple on pizza. It's got there are rules for having pineapple on pizza. That's for sure. One, you can't just have pineapple because it's really going to make it too sweet, especially with all the tomato sauce. Two, you can't just have ham because all you're doing is getting some saltiness from the ham. When you add something like pineapple to a pizza, you really need to find other toppings to help bring balance to it. So since pineapple is very sweet, it has a lot of acidity, you want something that's going to have fat. You're going to want some spiciness. Pepperoni is a very good meat to put on a pizza with pineapple. Jalapenos is a great topping to add with pineapple as well. Bacon is also a really good one. That's why you get a Hawaiian and make a Hawaiian pizza that doesn't normally come with bacon. You just ask to add bacon and add jalapenos, and you have a really good pizza right there. As you can see, this is now a pretty nice dough. It's nice and scraggly. There's still some dry bits on the bottom. And all I'm doing is just moving the dough around to make sure it gets all of the dry bits. And so since I'm using my starter, my sourdough starter, I'm not going to pull this out and I'm not going to knead it on my wooden board. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let nature do the kneading for me. The first process in kneading with this starter is called autolyse. What autolyse is, it's a kind of a procedure that the water and the flour will start creating gluten strands together. And if you leave it alone for anywhere between 30 to 60 minutes, it will create a lot of gluten just by itself. So it's going to make these large strands. That's going to help me fold everything together instead of kneading. That way, the yeast and bacteria that is in my starter will do all the kneading at a molecular level for me. It's a much longer process, but you're going to get a lot more flavor. You're going to get bigger bubbles. Your dough is going to be more stretchy. It is, in my opinion, a better way to do it. So I have my dough all ready. There's still some dry bits. That's okay. We're going to let the water finish hydrating the dough. Put a towel over this, like that. We're going to leave it alone for about 30, 40 minutes. And then I'll be back here to do the first set of folds. It's been roughly 35 minutes. I haven't looked at the dough yet, so let's check it out. I'm going to take this towel off. And if you look at the dough now, it's definitely a lot more hydrated than it was before. There's some little dry spots, but other than that, the dough is pretty wet. And it's also starting to get some stretch. You see here, it's starting to stretch. That's because of the gluten's already being developed for it. So I'm gonna do my first set of folds. What we're gonna do is a total of 4 set of folds. One set every 30 minutes. First, I'm gonna get my hands wet with some water so that the dough doesn't stick to my hands. And very quickly, I'm just gonna grab one side, give it a little stretch, fold it over to its other side, turn it a quarter. The same thing, I'm just gonna take it, fold it over to the side, move the bowl over another quarter. I'm gonna stretch the dough a little bit, move it over to the side, and then one more time, I'm gonna stretch the dough a little bit, fold it over to its side. And you can see here, it's starting to get a little bit smoother, the dough. So whenever we do more of these folds, you're gonna see how smooth the dough really gets. So now that we have our first set of folds, we're just gonna lift it up, shake it up a little bit, and then we're gonna set it down, back into the bowl. We're gonna cover it back up, and then we're gonna leave it for about another 30 minutes, and then we'll do our second set of folds. We are ready for our second fold. It's been another 30 minutes. Let's see how the dough looks now. Oh, look at that. It's a lot smoother. You definitely see that it's a lot more hydrated. I'm going to grab here. We're going to stretch. See how much it stretches now? That's crazy. From the last 30 minutes ago, I mean, look how much gluten it's developed. So we're going to fold it, and then grab the next side. Hold the side down so I get a little stretch. Then we'll fold it. Stretch. Fold. One more time. Stretch. And fold. Then we're going to lift it up. And we're going to set it back down. See how much smoother it's already looking? From our second fold, it's a lot smoother. You push down and it kind of starts coming back up. That's because of it's because of the gluten that's being built. Also, the carbon dioxide in there, it's helping to push it back up. I don't want to push it too much. So we're just going to cover it up again, and then in 30 minutes, we'll do our third set of folds. Let's see how it looks. Looking a lot smoother than it was last time, that's for sure. Let me get my hands wet real quick. All right, let's try stretching it. Oh yeah, much larger stretch than last time. It feels really soft. Definitely looks more like dough now, and I love how it's looking. Nice, good stretches. Okay, so we're gonna lift it up. Kind of fold it to itself into a ball. Look how much softer that looks. Oh, I love it. All right. We have one more set of folds. Okay, so let's take a look at this dough. It's super smooth. It feels like pizza dough. I mean, it doesn't feel like dry. It doesn't feel like all craggly like it did before. It's got a nice little bounce to it. Let's check the stretch. You can see it's got a nice big stretch now. Very big. So we're just going to do our last set of folds real quick. Smooth, hydrated pizza dough. Okay, so now that we got our 4 sets of folds in, we need to ferment. put our stretch wrap on it. And then we are going to leave it alone for another 12 hours. It seems like a long time, and it is, but it's worth it. We are going to put it in the refrigerator, and we're going to let all the yeast, the wild yeasts and bacteria from my sourdough starter, keep eating away at the sugars and the proteins in my pizza dough. So we're going to get a lot of flavor. In 12 hours, we'll be able to take it out, roll it into dough balls, and get it ready to make pizza. So we will see you in another 12 hours.
We seem to have lost the microphone in this part of the video, so now it's time for a voiceover. Here we have the dough that was in the refrigerator for over 14 hours. We pulled it out. We've seen how it has grown a little bit. It's also very smooth to the touch. We left it out of the refrigerator for about 10 or 15 minutes so that the dough can relax. Here you see me adding olive oil to the board and spreading it. What this is doing is I'm going to put the dough onto the board, and it'll prevent the dough from sticking to my board. Kind of like what you would use with flour, but I don't want to introduce any flour to this dough yet. Because when I form the balls and you add flour, the dough will not stick to itself. Uh, Here you see me placing the dough into kind of a rectangle. What I'm going to try to do is to cut it into 3 equal parts because I'm going to make 3 dough balls out of this. Here's my first cut, and we got our second cut. I am placing the dough flat, and I'm starting to fold in the sides into the middle of the dough. What this is doing is it's bringing the dough together. On the outside, you'll see the dough get a lot smoother. But also what you see with this dough is that when you're bringing it together into the middle, uh, it's creating this mass that you kind of want it to put together so that the dough ball is just one big round ball. So in order to do that, we're going to pinch the seams in a little bit so that the dough gets closer together. Then we're going to lay it onto the board. And what I do is I take my 2 pinkies and kind of smear the dough underneath. And then I do a quarter turn. And then I smear the dough underneath again. And I'll do that a couple of times. And what this is doing is it's using friction on the board to bring the dough together on the bottom. And you'll see that the dough is starting to come together, but not quite yet. So we are just going to do it a couple more times. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking the ball and I'm kind of rolling it in a circle. And what that does is help with the friction as well at the bottom of the dough so that it'll all kind of smudge together and help become just one single ball instead of all those pieces that are coming out. Oh, that's looking much better. Probably just need to pinch it a little bit more, do a couple more smears, and you should be good to go. Uh, Now I'm bringing in some flour in my half sheet tray. So with the flour, it's just all-purpose flour. I just throw it on the bottom of the half sheet tray pretty liberally because we are going to be putting our dough balls onto this tray for its final rest and give it some growth and uh, for about a couple hours. And this will give it a chance to grow a little bit more, and the flour will help it not stick to the sheet tray. So I will be doing this 2 more times, but not in the video. And we'll go ahead and move on to the next bit, which will be putting the pizza together.
And we are here with our resin pizza dough. We are ready to actually get ready to bake the pizza. As you see, I got my mise en place. That means all your stuff ready to go. And we have our pizza dough right here. So first thing I'm going to do is grab some cornmeal. I'm going to put it on my board. We're going to go ahead and take our pizza dough, brush off some of this excess flour that's right there. Again, we don't want the flour to burn. Then we set it right onto our board. We're going to be pushing down in the middle, working our way out, being careful not to press along most of the outside because we don't want to break up the bubbles on the outside for our crust. We want our crust to be light, we want it to be huge, we want it to be chewy also, but most importantly, we want those big, beautiful bubbles. So now that I've flattened it up a little bit, I'm going to start stretching it out just a little bit with my fingers to make sure I have a nice circular pizza here. Now I'm going to grab it and do what's known as the steering wheel method, where we're using gravity to help stretch the dough. And I'm just going to go slow, let gravity do its thing, and it is starting to stretch. Looks beautiful. And all you gotta do is take your time. You can lay it down and spread it a little bit with your hands some more. And the dough will start doing it on its own. That. What I'm looking for is close to a 12-inch pie. I will be cooking this on my cast iron. My cast iron can only handle about 12 inches, so this a little bit longer so that it is stretched close to 12 inches. Almost ready. Man, this dough looks great to work with. You can smell the beer and the honey in this dough too. Awesome. All right, we are just about ready here. Nice round pizza dough. All right, now I'm going to take some of this cornmeal and come over to my cast iron, which has been heating up to around medium heat right now. We're cornmeal on the bottom to help the dough not stick to the bottom, which it shouldn't, should be okay. We are going to grab the dough, get one little last stretch, then we're going to throw it onto our cast iron. And we're just going to spread it a little bit more, make sure that it touches the corners. And that looks great. So I have my oven preheated to 500 degrees. You can preheat your oven to as high as it can go. If it can go over 500, please do it. While we're waiting for that to crisp up a little bit, let's take a look at our toppings here. So I have fresh mozzarella. I don't like the shaved kind of mozzarella because it's got starches added that does leather, and it makes for the pizza to not, the cheese doesn't melt the way I want it to melt. I want like a nice white cheese melt pools. It looks very appetizing. I have some Italian sausage. I have some fennel that goes with the Italian sausage. One of the things that actually goes into an Italian sausage is fennel seeds. So that's why I thought fennel would be great with this pizza. And then I also have basil, and I have olive oil. I have salt, and then also I have a tomato sauce. I didn't want to make a tomato sauce today because I just wanted to show everybody that you can use your favorite tomato sauce that you use for spaghetti or anything. This is my favorite tomato sauce. It's from Bianco di Napoli. They are organic tomato sauce that comes from Sonoma County. So it's nice to work with local organic companies for me. So now let's take a look at the pizza over here. We can see that it's starting to crisp up a little bit. We're getting some bubbles in the middle, so let's just go ahead and poke those down a little bit. And then we're going to take a look at the bottom. Starting to crisp up. You see a little bit of spotting right there. That's good. That's what you want. I think we're about ready to put our sauce and everything on it. It's a little bit of olive oil. I'm going to drizzle around the sides, make it a little crispy. Hit a pinch of salt. Then we're going to go with our tomato sauce. We're going to do about 3 tablespoons. That seems what I like on my pie. You can do as much as you want. You can do as little as you want. It's your pie. Do what you want. We have our mozzarella cheese. I'm just going to shred it up a little bit and just lay it in wherever I feel like it needs to go. That looks good to me. We are going to use our Italian sausage now. I'm going to sprinkle that on, put as much as you want on there. That looks good to me. Right there. Now we're going to add our fennel. That looks good. And then this pie is going to go into the oven. We're going to put it in there for about, I'm going to say 10 to 11 minutes. All right, it's been about 11 minutes now. We are ready to take the pizza out of the oven. Oh yeah, nice bubbly pizza, golden crust. Smells delicious. I could smell the beer and the honey. And look at the cheese. Look at the way that cheese is pulling. Oh, it looks so good. So now what we're going to do, we're going to sprinkle a little salt on it. Then I have some basil. I'm just going to tear. Put a couple of spots. Not a whole lot, maybe 2 leaves to do it. We're going to drizzle a little bit more olive oil. Then we're going to go ahead and transfer this beautiful pie to the board. Here we go. Set it right there. We're going to give this a minute to cool down. We're going to let the cheese finish melting. We're going to have the basil start to wilt and warm up and give out its aroma. And then we will cut and taste it. A couple minutes. It's cooled down a lot. I think we're ready to open it up, see what it looks like. I got my knife here. Go ahead and push down. Hear a little crunch. That's nice. I like that. Spin it the other way. Let me go down the middle. Let's go ahead and get these 4 pieces right here done. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one maybe. Oh, that's nice. Look how I can hold it and it's not really drooping. That means the bottom is very crispy. It's nice. It's got nice brown spotting on the bottom. Also, the crust is very soft. This over here. See those big bubbles? Right here. That means that very soft. I mean, if we wanted to, we could have baked this maybe for another minute or 2 to make it extra golden brown. But I think this is great. I like it like this. Let me go ahead and try it. I think we're ready for our taste test. Mm. Mm. You can taste the beer, lightly taste the honey. It's almost more in the aftertaste. Usually when I make this dough, I usually use just water because I have a sourdough starter and I like the taste of the sourdough. The beer and the honey definitely makes that taste disappear. Even though I like this a lot, I really have been enjoying my sourdough pizza dough. But this is just as delicious. We have the sausage and the fennel. They play very well together. The cheese is nice and gooey. Overall, this is a very good pizza. I'll just finish it off with a little Pliny. That's good stuff. I made this pizza. You can make this pizza. Not a whole lot to do. I keep saying pizza and the dog's coming over to me. Sit. Sit. Good. So I just want to thank everyone for tuning in and watching me make my first video on how to make pizza. I liked it. This was a very fun project for me. I'm looking forward to maybe doing something like this in the future. Please let me know if you'd like me to make anything else, any type of recipes that you like, and I can recreate those. Other than that, thank you very much. Have a good day.